Today on Good Times, Bad Friends, we're joined by someone whose story doesn't really fit into a clean category. She's worked across media, events, modeling, and even acting. But what stands out most isn't what she does, it's where she comes from. From a childhood that she describes as difficult to stepping out into faith, moving to Dallas with no plan, to now building a life rooted in community, creativity, and purpose. This is a story about resilience, identity, and what God can do in the middle of uncertainty. She's someone who's passionate about using influence for something deeper. And today we're diving into everything from faith, calling, hard seasons, and what it really looks like to build a life you're proud of. So, TJ, we're glad you're here. That was the first take, if anyone asked. So, here we go.
Great.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on. So we always like to just kind of open it up, just get you comfortable and just kind of tell your story, where you grew up, kind of what shaped you, and then we'll just ask you some questions along the way.
Yeah, kind of was just born into a normal first 8 years of my life in Iowa. I'm one of those who says I got to Texas as soon as I could. It was my mother's first divorce that brought me here. I remember that not really affecting me as a kid, as well as not anything that happened after. Because those first 8 years, just like a normal childhood, fell down, scraped my knees. People were at home when I was at home. It was great. But then when I moved to East Texas, it just crumbled. It was pretty rough. I moved into a house with like 12 people living in it, 6 of which are family. It is a small house, it's 3 bedrooms. Everybody was addicted to something. They were addicted to drugs and drinking and being crazy. Literally, everyone has some kind of psych write-up prior to me, as like extreme as bipolar schizophrenia to then just like extreme OCD and bipolar. But then like I just was kind of normal. Like I somehow just kept to myself. I wasn't accepted by the older kids that lived in the house, which is a really good thing. And had an ex-boyfriend's mom in college tell me she felt like I was raised in a bubble of grace. And that has stuck with me. Kind of just sums up my childhood. Moved out in high school for all the right reasons, right? It wasn't a good place. When I moved out in high school, I moved in with some small group leaders who went to SFA. So they were like, where are you going to go to college? I said, don't know. Literally have never thought about it. They were like, you should go to SFA. I said, got it. And then since going to SFA, I learned so much more about life in general because was kind of, I don't know, just like separated from real people or adults for most of my life that I didn't know what to expect. But got to SFA, found some community, found, as we all do, maybe went a little crazy for a couple years, but locked back in and like
Not
became a
relatable.
normal thing. Yeah. Became a
Yeah.
normal young adult. And then we'll get into more recent stuff lately. But that's where it comes from. That's where the resilience from the dramatic bio really shines through.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing that. And I mean, obviously, as much as you're comfortable with sharing, but I think what's so interesting is I think everybody has that moment in their life where they realize you're not necessarily on your own, but like you said, like the people around you, you didn't necessarily want to kind of learn from them or be affected by them. I guess, when did you finally teach yourself and what did you teach yourself about being independent? Like how quickly did you learn that? And then does that benefit you now having to do that at a younger age? Or like when did that switch flip to where you finally figured out that you could be independent and you kind of had to grow up quicker than your average kid, you know?
Yes. So prior to getting married, I would have said it was a great thing learning independence young, but it really sucks because it's been so difficult getting married and been like, I make all the best decisions, not you, but I love my husband and that's fine. We're working through it. But as a kid, I don't know, there wasn't a noticeable shift of recognizing the difference or separation from my family. Most of it really happened when I was in college at SFA and I got to just learn what other people and kids' lives were like growing up. I was like, wow, mine was really not normal. And the older I got is when I started to realize the sad things or damaging things about my upbringing, because everybody has their own normal of what they grow up in. Everyone has their own end of the world as far as what is a dire situation or not. And so probably definitely in college, granted, do very much. I'm thankful for the upbringing. This feels cliche because it made me who I am. But low-key, I'm like, "Oh, it's awful. I would never want to put a child through that." Wow. I don't feel like I answered that really well, but I did.
Sounded
No,
good
you
to me.
did. Yeah, because I honestly had kind of the reverse mindset. I figured because I think it took so long for me to grow up that like, and I mean, I'm still not. I'm almost 85 years old and I still feel like a 13-year-old. But I guess I had the reverse mindset. So that was actually a great point because I always thought that, the younger you can find independence, then kind of the better off you are as an adult. But I guess I never thought about that. Like you almost feel isolated at a young age. And like, did that affect you in a negative way too? Like, did you maybe realize at a certain point you're like, wow, like this wasn't the best for me to feel isolated at a young age and almost feel like I'm driving apart relationships? Like, did that kind of create any rifts down the road for you?
Yeah, it definitely hurt me in relationships, literally until the past couple years. I would say my move to Dallas was shifting for a lot of reasons, but I don't think I became like a fully healthy, functioning person because of those wounds of like isolation until the past 4 or 5 years that I've been here. Mainly because you grow up and you can't trust anyone and you're not thinking that. I said it a moment ago, or I'll say it this way. Since I've gotten married, I've created a psychology term that maybe it is a psychology term, but I'm not a psychologist. I have only, what is it? Neglected only child syndrome. And so I have all of the selfishness or pride of like what I want to do that an only child would get, being in control, being selfish with what I want, but it's from a place of being neglected for a really long time. So I was doing it to make sure that I was safe or taken care of, knew what to expect next or control my surrounding. And so that's what's been tough in freaking marriage because I'll be like, I know exactly what to do to make sure that we're okay. And then my husband's like, or this idea that's not harming to you at all. And I'm like, you must hate me because
Yeah.
that's
So why are you doing that?
what's going on. So yes, but then I found some really awesome community and people that dealt with me when I was acting out of insecurity of just like, "No, we love you. There's nothing going on here." And I was like, "Okay." But it took a lot of awkward encounters of me being like, "You guys are bad friends." And they were like, "No, we're not. You're just being a little crazy." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, you need those like honest people around you to keep you on the rails or let you know when you're the one that's being crazy and it's not
Exactly.
the other person. But I want to stay in the like childhood chapter a little bit longer. So you mentioned that you felt like isolation from family. And I think a lot of times then children turn to like activities at school, whether it's sports or in your case, you mentioned you were choir over athletics. How did like sport or, choir or fine arts play a role? And then how did that impact you later on?
That's so funny. I've always wanted to be someone that people see as athletic, but it just doesn't come naturally. Loki, I'm not someone people see as a singer either. I can match pitch and that's about it. But a large part of the extracurricular that I was involved in is one, and I imagine it's this way across all schools, you have to be. You have to choose a path and kind of go through it for a couple of
Yeah.
years. And then two, it was cheap. You need nothing for choir except a voice. So the easy after school stuff doesn't really happen. You rehearse during the day and then once a semester you have like a concert. And so that was why choir became the natural route. But I guess the way it, like, impacted or shaped things is I found myself drawn to more creative groups, let's call it what it is. People that sing in choir typically do the theater, the
Mhm.
photography, and I don't think that's necessarily where any of these base desires of mine came from, but it is a natural pairing, that I am pursuing both modeling and acting, having a choral background. Either way, I got my letterman. And I would have lettered senior year in tennis, but I didn't. I wasn't very good, so I didn't stick with it.
Wait.
I would have let her, but I didn't play.
Yeah.
So just because I had the pleasure of knowing you in college and my wife loves you, I want the people on this podcast to know you. And that's why I kind of reached out to you. So before we jump into the next part of life, I want you to tell us something that people would never guess at first about you. And that could be from your childhood or who you are now or all the life that you've lived. What is one thing that people would never guess at first if they were to see you?
First of all, you cheated because this was like the last question on the survey, and now
Yeah.
you were like childhood, which I was like, that's my answer. My friend, one of my best friends, her name is Maggie. She said that it is off brand that I hate dancing at weddings.
Yeah.
Is that significant enough? I hate it. I hate the pressure of dancing at a wedding.
That's Yeah, and if you know TJ, she's the life of every room that she's in, so that is not believable. So I think that's fun. Like you have this like you have this fun, light personality, but like your story, that was just to kind of like break up the tension. Like there's so much depth to your story. So I kind of want to jump to something you said earlier of like you told us that your ex's mother said that you were raised in a bubble of grace. So kind of like
Yeah.
walk us through that and like what did that mean to you? Because clearly it stuck to you to this point.
I know, Beth. Me and Beth still talk. She's quite wonderful. Me and her son, we don't talk anymore. I guess, I explained how I grew up just like really isolated from most people. And it was like I'm sitting on the floor while all these adults are around me being crazy, watching Disney. It's the only free channel in East Texas. And they all of a sudden, they go outside. They have what is coined as adult time. And I, as a child, understand what's happening, but I don't have the strongest desire to go with them.
Hmm.
But it's not because I think it's bad. I'm just like, oh, they're just doing something different than me. And then, like, kind of growing up, getting to college, recognizing how different my upbringing was from other people. I'm telling her parts of my story, and she says, "You're raised in a bubble of grace." And I was like, wow, I get it. Like, at all these different points along the way where it would have been so easy for me to be a statistic, so easy for I'm the first person to graduate high school, let alone go to college. And so there's no reason I should have made it out of the small town that I did. But God was consistently putting random people in my life to just affirm who I was as a human. Low key, I was bullied in school though, so it was never kids my age. It was always like adults from church. People to affirm who I was, people to give me direction to go to SFA, where I found a church that poured into me. So much of like the foundation of what my faith is today came from my church when I was in college. And so it's like, what are the odds that all the pieces connected for someone with my upbringing? So that's like, I guess that doesn't really sound like a bubble. But for me, I was traveling in a bubble, like Glinda. But I don't really like the new Wickets. So
Whoa.
you
Yeah,
pull me
Glinda's
around.
not
how,
calling. All
how
right, week
you're a
on Good Times
choir
Bad.
and Ariana Grande.
Breaking the stereotype. Well, so you mentioned that you're like in this little bubble, and uh, you mentioned earlier too that like even the kids in your household of like 12 like kind of isolated you, which at the time I'm sure was very difficult, but in the end was a blessing because it helped you not go down a similar path. And you're in this like bubble of grace, and then you get to college and you start to realize that maybe that wasn't a normal upbringing. If someone else is listening who is either right now going through something similar, maybe isolation or just some difficult time, what would you share with them? What are like some words of wisdom or advice from someone who's made it to the other side?
That's a fun question to get to answer because such an opportunity for encouragement or hope, which is so real even in the midst of like the really dark times. As someone who got to recognize her upbringing much after it happened, there wasn't a ton of hurt and like wounds recognized as the child who was going through all the things. Bubble of grace. It's a good point for it. Or good part for it. And so as I've started to recognize all of these hurts in my I can't say adult life. I was 20. As I started to recognize these hurts when I was older and separated from them, it was a lot easier to recognize that my misfortunes were not the Lord's design for my life and that I was a product of a bunch of broken people. And so it was a lot easier to offer that like forgiveness and find healing from it. I was like, oh, that's not what God wanted for me. I can forgive that these people are broken. Praise God with where I'm at now. So maybe not comforting to the person who recognizes they're in it and they feel the hurt right now, but it is still important the reframing of it's broken people and you are just in the midst of suffering from that. But what an opportunity to recognize God's heart, his design, what he wants for you is different than that situation. And that is what hope is in the gospel and trusting the Lord, not leaning so much on the current circumstance, but looking at God's heart and just believing he's good in his character.
Well, and then
Wow.
talking about like you have to have like like that's a very strong mindset. And from what you've said so far, like you were not raised to have that mindset. So talk about like a strength coming from not of yourself to recognize that because your whole childhood up to that point was people not pouring into you and you not being able to trust them. And slowly but surely, a person here, a person there, just able to not even pour into you, but say, TJ, like, I see you. I think you're great. And you're like,
Sure.
oh, I'm not great. And then hearing it from all over the place, I think is just a really cool, like the power of words you have. And me and Justin, like, we're in the school every day. We're teachers, we're coaches. Like, the
Mhm.
power of words have so much weight that hold onto people. And like you said, the bubble of grace from all those years ago, like, still sticks with you. I think it's a very strong thing that you did. So I'm proud of you, bud. That's great.
I feel the proud, but I also feel that you keep using the word strength, which feels like athletic. So I know the
Yeah, I need a
focus is
different word.
sports.
There's your athletic feet.
Well, you made this bold decision. So like you had this lifestyle up to this point. You're like, you know what? People are finally pouring into me. I have this community in Nacogdoches, this church. I'm gonna leave. I'm going to Dallas. So what made you make this decision? You're like, you know what? I'm doing this. I have a new course for my life and I'm just gonna go for it.
Oh, wow. Okay. So this is an interesting way that you set up this question because I have to correct how it could have been asked. Well, I didn't give you this reference,
Clip.
but
Okay.
basically,
Cut this part.
oh, I was gonna say, basically, when I left Nacogdoches, it actually wasn't, I wasn't leaving a wonderful community behind. There were a couple of relationships that I had closeness with, um, but the end of my time in Nacogdoches was actually really hard because people that I thought I had good relationship with seemingly had a lot of issues with me. The easiest way to sum it up is I briefly dated someone, we broke up. A lot of people were bothered that me and this person didn't work out. All in all, it is better that we didn't because we weren't meant to be. And me and this person are actually fine now. But I was really surprised to see my community's response to me and this guy not working out. And so it created a lot of discomfort for me in a place that had been my home for me becoming a young adult, those years. So in addition to my, like, Christian community taking that role, I also recognize that the friend groups, the relationships in the friend group I had been building for the last couple of years also didn't feel that safe and healthy. So that is the situation I'm living in. I start a random new job that someone I trust is like, "You should go for this. It's in Lufkin. I'm gonna have to drive 20 minutes every day. LOL, now I live in the city. I drive 20 minutes literally everywhere." But
That's a nice commute.
so it was actually very pretty. I liked it. But, so I start working in Lufkin at this job, which I do meet my present day best friend at, which is wonderful.
We
But
did not meet in Lufkin.
oh, you're right. I'm sorry. My present day second best friend.
Thank you. Keep going.
And it's crazy. The people here are crazy, and it's probably because it's Lufkin. Wow. People from this podcast might listen from Lufkin. I'm sorry. Okay,
They're
never mind.
offended.
Okay. Uh, so I was like, wow, all of the community that I thought I had built over these past couple years has shattered. I have just started working a job that not only sucks 2 months in, but will only suck so much more if I stay for several years. Screw it. Let's leave. Dallas was the closest city that wasn't Houston. I love Houston. I love Houston. But I grew up going to Houston, so I wanted to go somewhere else.
Yeah, somewhere new.
So I looked literally one day at the job. Sorry, old employer. Not really. I looked one day at the job for leases. I found a place I could afford. I sent them a little message and they were like, "Hey, yeah, you can have it, but you have to sign a lease today or we're going to give it to the next person." I was like, "Oh my gosh." So I signed the lease and I quit the job
Whoa.
and I drove up like 3 weeks later.
Dang. So at some point, I mean, I guess it was easier to make that transition since you were coming from not as strong of a like a foundation
Yeah,
in Nacogdoches. But at some point when you're there, you know, you signed a lease. It sounds like without ever seeing anything, you
that's
just
true.
kind of sent a message, signed it. At some point, are you like, what am I doing? Like, why am I here? Why am I in this apartment that I never saw, just kind of moved into? Did you feel like you made a mistake at some point moving?
Yeah, but it was the reason really I was convincing myself that I made a mistake, not was because of how confused or lonely the move to Dallas was, but it was looking back at Nacogdoches and trying to identify, okay, what was good there? What would be good to go back to? Which was cool because then I was seeing past the things that had hurt me. But conversation with a really close friend was like, sister, you got to give this a chance. Get out of your house, find something to do, try it for 6 months. And praise God, I did. So much has happened.
No, yeah, because I mean, I guess I've never been faced with that, but Colin talks about that too. Making big moves. I think it's so easy to look back and be like, man, I had it so good where I came from. So whenever you get to this new place and all these new things are happening, obviously you said you found comfort in that friend. Like, what else was that solidifying moment of like, okay, like I'm good here, everything's okay, I can do this, I'm strong, like what were some of the reasons that kept you there? And I guess what was the point where you were like, I'm where I need to be?
Well, I fully believe that the Lord wants to speak to his children. Oh, he's just waiting for us to listen. He's just waiting for us to show up and be present and listen because everything about his character and who he is relational. And that doesn't really work when it's always one sided or there's not room for him to speak to you. John 10:27, my sheep know and hear my voice. So I had been told by this friend on the phone, which is why I just did this phone thing. Hey, get out of your house. I don't care what it, because I was like, I can't spend money. And she was like, get out of your house. And I was like, okay, what can I do that's cheap? I said, there are Chewy's in Dallas. They are not in East Texas, but there's one in Tyler. They're not in Nacogdoches. And I said, there's a Chewy's here. It's happy hour. I go to happy hour.
Hmm.
And I went to happy hour. And I go to happy hour. They don't do the trunk nachos since COVID. That's a disappointment. No food.
Wait,
Only
time out.
margaritas. Yeah.
Explain trunk nachos.
Okay, Chewy's back in the day, pre-COVID, had a car in their Elvis room. I know this. We'll get there. In their Elvis room, and in the trunk that it had, it would have queso and chips and
What?
peppers. And
Trunk
it
knot?
was free. It was free during happy hour.
That's how
Free,
people
not,
get kidnapped.
What?
but it's Chewy's, so it's like a gift from God too. So it's fine. But I arrived at Chewy's this day, and I'm sitting without my nachos because it's post-COVID and they took it away. So I'm just drinking, truthfully. And I and I hear the Lord speak to me, and he's like, hey, go ask that manager if they're hiring. And I was like, okay, I could work at Chewy's. I gotta make some money while I'm here. It's fine if I'm not jumping back into a 9 to 5. And so I do. I go ask the manager if he's hiring. And he's like, we're always accepting applications. I'm like, wow, that's like the lamest answer they always give to everyone. So don't feel great about it. And then I sit back down and I see this really cute girl as a waitress. I'm like, wow, we could probably get along because she looks normal. And so he's like, ask her about working there. And so I did. I was like, well, I didn't know her name yet. So I was like, girl, how do you like working here? And she told me, she said it was really great. She said the always accepting applications is what they say, but that they were hiring. Great. I have server experience. Let me throw my hat in the ring. I got the job. Callie became one of my greatest friends in that first part of Dallas, and it helped solidified, oh, I can make things work here. And it was just through that prompting of the Holy Spirit that I was like, okay, God, like, I don't want to be a server again when I'm 25, but I was. Sidebar, I was again at 27, but
Spoiler.
you just you listen to the Lord's prompting, and sometimes, usually, things work out.
Yeah, and it sounds like faith seems to be at the center of like every life stage that you have gone through, whether at the time you realized it or looking back you realized it. So like kind of let's stay here a little bit. Like let's talk about TJ now. Like how has your faith evolved in the past 5 to 10 years, say, after living all these experiences, realizing you do have people in your life and corner that care about you, and like learning all these little life lessons and being like, wow, there was someone looking out for me through all this time.
You guys, I just turned 30. Just happened, which is fine. But, so I would say the last 10 years is the best measure of growing in my faith because I really locked in with finally doing this when I was 20. So it's been a decade now of following Jesus, which is pretty sweet. Granted, prayed the prayer at some church or altar call when I was 8, literally moved to the Bible Belt, like I said, from Iowa. And the first weekend, church van was like, hey, come to this thing. And I was like, great, I'll come. And so got involved in church that way, stayed through it without my upbringing. It was probably like the only constant in my life, like this thing that I knew and could count on and was good and safe. Then I mentioned those couple crazy years in college. That was freshman and sophomore year. But then, sophomore year, something really tragic happens in my family. Found out about abuse of another person who I'll be open book about anything, but this one specifically doesn't feel like mine to share. But find out about some pretty serious abuse that had taken place in my family. Kind of went crazy for like a month. And by that, I just tried lots of drugs. Just really decided bad things. It only took a month for God to grab me and say, bad things happen either way, and that's why you need me. I was like, you're right.
Good.
So that summer, I locked in and started really trying to like get plugged into Christian community on a regular basis where people had authority to speak into my life. Prior to that, there was regularly going through the motions, reading the Bible, trying to pray, but until I gave other people a say-so and like, hey, you should be more conversational with the Lord. You should try to learn to listen how to Holy Spirit. You can go to these spaces and try to evangelize, but you need to be mindful about how you're representing yourself or the body. That's when things started to shift. And then the church I went to, shout out Mosaic Knack. I think I can do that.
Mhm.
Unless I can't, I'm sorry, Colin. They had a full new realm of teaching that they were getting to go through because of a church split that coincidentally happened the same year. So it was like pastors passionate about reaching college students and teaching them about the gifts of the Spirit is where I decided and when I decided, oh, let's jump in. So it was a beautiful marrying of all the things.
Well, I think a lot of people get to a point where they try to do everything themselves. And then when you finally find a church that is all about, like, let's see how many people we can reach. Like, let's start reaching outward instead of focusing so much inward. It's almost like you grow both ways at the same time. So, like for you, I saw something pretty heavy when you're filling things out. And I know it's a super hot topic right now, but it said you went from being pro-choice to pro-life. And obviously, as you kind of deepen in your faith, that's kind of something that connects as far as like a moral, ethical connection. What kind of led you down that path and kind of got you to end up where you are today?
We love talking about hard things, and so I will continue to be transparent. I am one of the only people in my life, present day, like relationships that I have that I'm close with, and definitely people that I see and interact with a lot in Dallas who leans pretty liberal, pretty left. And so it's not a secret that being pro choice is often associated with the left side. People are over, shouldn't be so against each other. Anyway, so that was the basis of mine. What I was seeing when I was pro-choice, yes, pro-choice, was all the hatred surrounded by people getting to make their decision. And so I was operating from a place of, this is not the right approach. It's not okay. People who do not subscribe to Christian beliefs and who God says he is shouldn't be held to the same standard. Like, it's so unfair for us to be so unloving. That is where I was. Present day, everyone in my life, so conservative, which is fine. I love everyone. My husband, love him. Anyway, just in some regular conversation, watching a fight at Buffalo Wild Wings, my buddy Gavin, love him to death, is like, TJ, why are you pre-choice? I'm trying to explain all these things. And he's, just reinforcing that he doesn't think that that is the right belief for me to have. As I just said, you give certain people that you trust, you see their relationship with the Lord, authority to speak into your beliefs or maybe how you live. And so I did. I walked away from the conversation kind of defeated because I couldn't understand why, loving Jesus as much as we both did, how we were on such opposing teams. And then, praise God, I listened to a podcast. He just, he reinforces that truth sometimes in ways that you don't always expect. And I heard it from a completely different angle, which was, there are parts of the spiritual realm, these demonic, oppressive beings that have convinced part of humanity that pro-choice is okay. That, oh no.
And then there's people who don't, and they're dogs.
He doesn't agree and they're barking.
um, so they might be good. So I learned that about these spiritual beings. They're convincing people of this lie, and that's what it is. It's a lie that people believe. And to me, that was really forming because definitely I don't enjoy spiritual warfare, but it's very important and people can't ignore it. And so recognizing it and hearing it through that lens of it's another way that it's twisted humanity and called something good that God calls bad, I was like, I'm out. I have to change. My belief is changed. And so, shoot, I told Gavin too. I sent him a voice memo. I was like, yo, not only were you right, but here's a different way that I heard it, which is what changed it for me. Sweet Gavin is like, "Oh, you're right. I don't need to go this, like, murder route because it's not the human who's making the like, it's not the human." I don't really know if I like the way I'm saying this. It's not the human's fault that they're making the decision. It is the disbelief that's come from this
Like an
spiritual.
influence. Yeah. Yeah. And so I want to take a time out. We are not trying to like serve you to the wolves. It's just in the pre-survey. You said, let's talk about like, let's be an open book. Let's talk about it. So that's why we asked that question. It wasn't because we're like, I want to get TJ fired. I want to do
Well,
this.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. And my question is, was that Jonathan Pokluda's book?
what the resource I heard it from?
Yeah.
No, it was a sermon from Mosaic.
Well, he wrote a book about spiritual warfare that I've sent to everyone that I know. So it's really good too. I just wanted to clear that up of like we can keep it live if we want. I
Yeah,
just know
yeah,
that
yeah.
you
Yeah.
love
I'm
talking
sorry.
about it and we want to talk about that with you and get like
Mm,
your message out and let people hear the truth because people don't talk about the truth anymore because it's a hot
mm,
topic. And that's why we
mhm,
created this podcast. Is like
No doubt.
we don't want to step on toes, but we don't want to hide the truth. So I'm glad that we're
Mhm.
mhm.
able to have these conversations.
Yeah.
Well, and we do a good job of having people on that have connections with someone, and so you get someone on that you are friends with, and you're just able to have a little bit more of an open and vulnerable conversation. So at any point, you just be like, "Hey, shut up, new guy," because you can go to SFA and be like, "Yes, ma'am, I'll let Colin and Alex take those questions or whatever." But since we're going to keep it light, I want to ask you kind of another politically faith driving question. Who'd you vote for? No, I'm just kidding. Kanye, am I right? No, no, no. But seriously, so there was actually a guy, and I really thought you were about to name drop the guy that I was going to talk about because he's a preacher in the DFW area, and it's Josh Howerton, and he does the Live Free podcast, and that was a guy that kind of changed a lot of the ways that I look at the political spectrum as well. And he started off with something just so simple as I am a Christian conservative, not a conservative Christian, and you don't have to throw stuff out there, but like. Did you have that moment to where you were essentially putting the cart before the horse? Like, my politics were shaping and faith took a back seat. And then all of a sudden now faith is the driving force behind my life. And now anything that I fit within that political social box is driven by the foundation of my faith. Like, was that the connection or what kind of flipped that for you? I mean, I know like when you're in a Buffalo Wild Wings, it's not like you have the biggest revelations in the world, but like, is that kind of the best way to describe that switch or how would you switch it? Or how would you describe it, I guess?
I mean, I'm thankful that people in my life have affirmed this in me, but for me, the switch was really just when I feel the prompting of the spirit saying, this needs to be done or this is right, I'm just aware of it. And that took practice. It takes time to learn and understand what the Lord is trying to say to you. He speaks clearly, it's how well you can listen. But that's what it was for me. There wasn't necessarily, I didn't feel like I idolized or put politics first really ever. I think I was wrong in a lot of ways, but I do think I was trying to operate from a place of what I thought was right, but then praise God for enlightenment. It became really clear. Like he prompted me and I was like, "Oh, you're right. New page." It was easy to kind of move past it.
I think one thing that like doesn't come easy for all people is hearing or like accepting those signals or like okay, God is speaking to me or saying these things. If somebody is maybe on the outside, they haven't found their faith yet, what is something that you think people often misunderstand about Christianity that maybe is keeping them away or helping them like pull back?
Alex, this is what my long-term book project is exactly about. I feel like there are a couple things that are just so misunderstood, both by present day church and by people who have rejected church. They're like, Christians, not for me. Any branch, Catholicism, present day, whatever. And the main thing that I think people do not grasp is that God is only good. He is only good. He only wants good for you. His desire is that we would align with him to experience his goodness. And so at any point one of those points aren't meeting, there's room for other spirits, other beings to intercede, including ourselves. Like our natural selves can easily choose things that are not good for us. So, gosh, okay, back up. So, from the beginning of like someone who hasn't found that yet and maybe is interested in looking at it, that's step one is can I trust that this God that some people find so much hope in, can I trust that he's only good? It's like those maps. If no, da da da. If yes, da da da. If no, why not? Talk to people, maybe talk to people you trust that you know have faith and try to work to the root of that. Step two, do I believe in God's grace? That I, as like this broken person, just get to experience that goodness. Because believing is good is a battle in itself, but then getting yourself to the point where like, oh, and it's for me. Like I get to just bask in it. Yes, we serve an and more God. That's such a hard answer for someone who's not a Christian yet. But that's it.
So I have one follow-up question. You said towards the beginning that God is only good, but we all know there's tons of bad things in the world. So
Mhm.
why do these bad things exist? Whether you go into the Old Testament or you go into just, what happens in the world today, I guess like where do those, bad things come from or why can those things exist if a good God is in control of everything?
This is so fun. I don't think people are used to hearing people say, I'm not trying to be ignorant or naive either. I just think it is not so common today for Christians like me to outwardly say, God is not in control of all things. I think God is sovereign and can do all things and exist outside of time and makes everything work together for our good. All of that. Yes, I subscribe. But I do not think God is in control of all things because then there is no free will. Free will existed in the garden before the fall of man because they had the choice to eat from the tree or not. So there's always been this freedom of us to exist and operate as how we want. But God in his goodness is constantly trying to build that relationship where we get to agree and step into what he has for us. But it takes knowing his voice. It takes wanting to be that change. God's entire heart is restoration of everything that happened since the fall to come back and be realigned with him. So the reason that there are other bad things in the world is because God has let go of the reins. He watches the world and he's constantly saying, I want them to do this. If they would just partner with me. And even when we don't, because he's only good, he still makes it work out.
Question.
You look not interested.
No, I'm stressed. Okay.
Oh my God.
So it's okay. Um, that's tough. That's a tough one.
It's just, that's tough.
It's okay. So I think the biggest thing that we need to like understand that like God is good all the time, but like not good by human standard, right?
Yeah.
I think one of my big and I've been open like in my small group on Sunday, I talked about this of like I struggled with years, and I think I've talked about it on here about the Passover in the Old Testament, about how like all these babies died in this Passover over something it wasn't their fight. And
Mhm.
like how can a good God kill all of these babies to get back at, Pharaoh not letting whatever. But then I had to like take my human emotion out of it and be like, these babies were spared from a life on earth that is just filled with evil. They got to be in the kingdom instantly. They didn't have to go through all
Mhm.
this evil. I know some people have different beliefs on do babies go to heaven? You can have that argument all you want. But I think with my belief is that God was like, I will save these babies from this life of evil that they're going to inflict on my people. And so when we take the good human good out of things, we're like, man, God is in control. He is sovereign and he wants us to come to him, but he's not, like you said, going to puppeteer us to be Christians, because even in the Old Testament, he's like, God hardened people's hearts. He was like, they're not coming to me. I know the outcome because I'm outside of time. And I think that grieves him. I think he's sad about those things. And
Mhm.
because we have a relational God and not I don't know, idol or a statue.
Uh-huh.
Whew. Okay, you're a model. Let's Great
A model
segue. Great
Christian.
Okay, TJ, your makeup is on point right now.
I
You're
didn't
bringing.
even wear it today. I said, let's, oh gosh, I didn't wear it today and I put it on for this call. So thank you.
I was gonna say your makeup is on point. I can tell it from my Logi $14 camera from Amazon. You've done modeling. You went to. Did you go to California for a? Let's talk about your life in front of others. As I will try to make up on the go. Like let's talk about your modeling, your acting, and now your writing. Like talk. Okay. I'm going off script. Tell me about your Netflix experience.
Oh gosh.
Are you allowed to talk about that?
Well, I don't think it's on Netflix.
Oh,
Good job,
God dang
Colin.
it.
Golly, great
South by
question. Good
Southwest?
segue.
Is that your misremembering?
I thought you. Yes. Hey, so let's talk about your South by Southwest experience. Let's talk about. I can edit this
Take one.
however I want.
I'd love to. Thanks for asking. I
Oh no.
I
Yeah.
oh what? We good?
Yes, sorry, I'm
Nobody's
lagging.
responding. Oh, okay. That's okay. So I want to be a model and actress, and the way that I pursue that is I have an app on my phone. I won't gatekeep. It's called Actors Access. And it's where I subscribe. I have an account. I can just go to apply to things that people are casting for anywhere in America. Sometimes it's other countries, but I don't want to get stolen. I don't really trust them. I don't really apply to those. And I saw a little just film, a SAG film that was looking for some background. I was like, man, when it's SAG film, that's cool because it's just like a little bit more legit. So I applied to be background. I didn't care it was in LA. Let's see what happens. And then I got it, and I was like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna go to LA? I don't make any money. Um, so I posted on my Instagram. I was like, hey guys, I got this opportunity to be background in a movie. Let me know if you want to support. Would you believe my entire trip was funded by friends who just love me and Venmoed me money?
That's
So
awesome.
crazy. I wasn't even like, hey guys, I'm the lead. Help. I was like, I am background. Wonderful friends. So I went to LA, flew in, stayed at some random person's Airbnb, one of those where it's so cheap where like you share the house with them, you just get the room. It was fine. And then background in this movie, set day one, in Dave's Hot Chicken, where it began, met the owner. Kind of a cool little situation. I'm on set. I'm the only one who's chosen to be a part of like an action sequence in this scene. So I'm like, that's cool. I get it, God. I'm supposed to be here. Because of the action sequence that I was in, I got to interact with the main character a lot in between takes. He's like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I live in Texas. I just wanted to be in this. He was like, that's kind of crazy. Like, you're not even getting paid for this, which is true. He is so intrigued by my desire to be there that he's like, I'll tell the director to put you in another scene tomorrow. Just stick around, you'll get more screen time. I was like,
Whoa.
I'll be there. Let me tell you, because of that, you see my face in this movie. You're like, that's TJ. So cool. Anyway, it really just resulted in one more day being on set, getting to know actually a little bit more of the cast and crew, got to know the executive producer of the film. And so when they had the opportunity to premiere at South by Southwest, the executive producer texted me. He's like, hey, I know you're in Texas. Would you want to drive down and come to the premiere? I said, heck yes. So me and my husband went for my birthday last year.
How cool.
Wow. So did that kind of light a fire? Like, did you chase any more opportunities or get any more after that, or was it kind of like a one and done? Sorry if that struck a nerve or anything, but I just
No.
like did like Tom Cruise. He was like, listen, I'm making the 17th version of whatever crazy movie I'm making. Like, you're up. Like, what was the plan after that?
It is always to keep applying. I say that. I started a new job last May, so getting close to a year in. When I started that job, I really try to be an honoring person. And so I'm like, I don't want to start a new job and continually be asking for time off for this side pursuit. And so from premiere at South by Southwest last March to May, yes, definitely on fire. Fire was already there. I'm literally burning. But I decided come May to not as actively throw my hat in the ring. I've done a few jobs since then, just like commercial shoots here in Dallas proper, but not as active. Granted, things have happened as of recent where I am feeling the fire again and I'm starting to apply a lot more regularly. 'Cause oh my gosh, Tom Cruise was my childhood crush. Was it from War of the Worlds? Yes, that's not important, but I would be thrilled to be in his movie.
Yeah, if you show up, I mean, we can do a live podcast episode there because he's a pretty cool guy. Whole Scientology thing's a little weird, but anyway, you can get past it. You'd be like, listen, I can get past it if we
Real to
shoot a
me.
movie. Yeah. So that kind of makes sense now because you put something very interesting that you wanted to now kind of be an influence for purpose, like as far as being an influencer and kind of getting into that realm. Is that did you want to keep the entertainment aspect going and to kind of have your own little world of entertainment and acting and influencing people that way, or what's kind of the thought behind that, being able to influence with a purpose?
Yeah, all the above. I was in college the first time someone was, like, really trying to grill me about what I wanted to do with my life and if there was, like, the Lord's purpose relating to those dreams. And so the first time I finally said it, I was like, "Dang, I wanna write movies." And that's, like, what birthed all of it. Author, acting, modeling. For a while, I was just pursuing, "Okay, I need to write some screenplays." I still got ideas in here. Um, as I started thinking about that more and I'm looking at the screenwriters who more easily sell their scripts, I'm like, these are people who are actors or like they're already in Hollywood. It's real hard to break in with that original screenplay if you don't have connections. So it's like, okay, maybe I should start acting and modeling to help me get there. Fortunately, a little cute. So I get some of those jobs a little easier. I apply and sometimes I get a chance. And so that's where I started to focus. And then as of recent, I've been reminded of it's not just because you want to get into the space. It really is because you have something to say, which is why I've leaned why I've leaned more into now potentially novel writing. Still, screenplays one day would be great, but I'm finding a lot of value in what the Lord has taught me over the last decade. This feels like a nice bring it all together moment.
Yeah,
I'm
we're good at
finding a
what we
lot of
do.
value of the last 10 years and want to put that into a book. I want to talk to people about my life and what I believe, because I think God can use everyone's story. And so, yes, want to be in those spaces.
Well, you definitely have a cool story, and I'm glad that we were friends. And now we're gonna go to the section in Kevin's podcast that you skipped. We're gonna start bringing up the ending segments that we have. So we always do a rapid fire question with our guest. And turns out that the questions are different for each guest. So you can listen
Okay.
to
You can
episodes
listen
to
to every single one of
completion
them. Yeah.
in case you're like, I wonder if they'll invite me on. They'll be new. I promise. But before we jump in, TJ, I want you to profess to the 80, I would even say 100 people that are going
I
to listen to
haven't
this
been on
episode.
Kevin's.
Yeah. Um, if you write a screenplay and you're like, man, how about these three podcasters have their own background in the show? Who are you going to think of?
You guys.
All right, perfect, cool. All right, so we're gonna go into rapid fire with TJ. These are gonna be short. First thing that comes to mind, we'll go in order, unless your screen is not the same as mine, and then we'll go from there. So, question number one: if you are out and about, you need some time in between writing and your work. Are you going coffee or matcha?
Coffee. Matcha is grass.
I don't know what
Nice.
matcha is. I thought I pronounced it wrong.
No, that's it. Spot on.
Like Gunta.
Like modeling.
Mm,
Madeline.
But what is one thing that people misunderstand about you?
I'm very sensitive. They don't misunderstand that. They know. I'm sorry. Rapid fire.
They
It's okay.
understand.
What is a risk that changed your life?
Dating my husband, even though he's 4.5 years younger than me.
And he can hoop. All right, question number four. What's something God is teaching you right now?
Ooh, that I am the beginning of a mold. He says so much to sculpt, and I want to be sculpted, but I'm still at the beginning.
If your life had a title right now, what would it be?
Ugh, I like being married.
Title. Yeah, I like being married. Welcome to the film,
That's
everybody.
a Colleen Hoover book, I'm pretty sure.
This one would be 2 or 3 words if you need it to be a little bit longer. But what do you want your life to stand for?
Healing and truth and unity.
It's good.
Those are good. That's like Christianese 101.
Yeah, that'd be a good life title if you had one right there. Um, okay, and I don't want to jump past this because you've brought him up so much, and he's just like such a good dude. One, how did you and your husband meet? Two, you mentioned you had to get married twice, and I think we need that story out here on the airway.
Oh, it was so silly. I met my husband dancing at Red River, which is a country dance hall here in Dallas. And the first time I went to Red River, I was like, wow, this place is ratchet, and I hope I never come back. And then I got broken up with by a guy, and 2 weeks later found myself at Red River. Don't understand the connection, but it happened. So this guy comes up to me and he asked me to dance. I'm like, okay, I like to dance. I'm kind of good at it. I came from Nacogdoches. I'll dance. And his belt is broken, so he's squatting, and he's 6'5", so he looks really weird. He's kind of dancing like a frog. But while we're moving around the dance floor, he's like kind of good. And we're just talking. I'm like, he's cute, but I don't know anything about him. He says he has teammates. I'm like, oh, he's a minor league ball player. Like, I'm in the city. Those exist here. And then he says that they're his college teammates. And I was like, oh my God, he's in college and I'm 26. It's fine. So he asks for my number, tells me his age. I'm like, I'm older. He said, as long as it doesn't start with a 3, we're good. And I said, we are good. Not there yet. He gets my number, then proceeds to tell me he doesn't think we should date because he's recently out of something serious. And I was like, wow, me too. Literally was dumped 2 weeks ago. And he was like, oh, mine is like 6 months old. Actually, I like you. Let's figure this out. And I was like, okay. So that's just a story in itself. But that's how we met, and we became inseparable. Very cute. Now, we had to get married twice, Colin. Not just once, like twice.
Yes.
How many times have you been married to Ryan already?
Just once, I think.
You hope.
Yeah. So when you get married, you have to turn in your marriage license or it expires. No one told us that. And so we just still had it. It was on the desk. We went on a cruise with our friends like 3 months after, and they were like, what are you doing this week? I said, oh, when we get home from the cruise, like, I think I'll finally turn in our marriage license. And they said, that expired. It's only 30 days old, that you can do it.
Mm.
So we had to get another one and get married again.
Wow.
We only saw
Love him so much, you got to marry him twice.
I do. I'll go down
I only went to one wedding, so I'm kind of offended now, but it's okay.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, it was fine until we were at a church gathering and Jacob introduced me as his second wife. I was like, oh, wow, that's so tough.
It's a great joke.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, TJ, we're coming up right on an hour, which is usually where we keep our podcasts, but we always do finish with a signature question, which if you didn't get through rapid fire, you may not have heard.
Yep.
But this is our signature question that is the same for all of our guests.
Yes.
So who are you following, reading, or listening to that's encouraging your walk with God right now?
That's good. That's good. I am following and listening to, I don't even want to say bear with me because hopefully you don't have to. Watermark Church has had something in the water last year and this year. Really, this year, the church as a whole has taken a new stance on how important the Holy Spirit is and really let its congregation know that they need to be on board because God wants to move in Dallas and he wants to use the church to do it. So I've been I don't go to Watermark, but I've been really encouraged staying in tune and listening to their sermons. Listening. Reading, I've actually, 2 things. One, I did a prayer workbook essentially. I think it was from Novo. I've just been looking at the PDF, so I don't remember the title. But I think it was Novo. It's a prayer curriculum that teaches people several different types of prayer. And I've been like trying to work through it like with my husband and my small group because it was so impactful to me to do the course like a year ago that I'm like, other people should know these prayer exercises. And then when I got married, someone gave me a book called The Power of a Praying Wife, and it's kind of cool. It's like you have to pray for him all the time. And I'm like, that's crazy, but sometimes he makes me mad, so maybe I should.
No, that's awesome. Well, TJ, thanks for a great conversation. I mean, there's so many takeaways, but obviously the way that you can make it through difficult things, you can take risks that don't make sense, and God's still building something through you and your relationship. Like it's awesome when we have people on that can talk about their faith so openly, be vulnerable, and then understand that it's not easy and that nothing that God wants for us that we can attain of value is going to be easy at all. So you are not alone in your walk, and so I think that's always good to know that faith is only as strong strong as a community that people have within it. So if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure you follow, like, and subscribe. We always have to kind of throw that in there just in case we make it on a big time movie at South by Southwest. Always helps us. So make sure that everybody listening, if you've made it this far, I know you have, because man, that took off really quick, and then that was a great conversation. So thanks again, TJ. We really appreciate it. Thanks for taking the time to be with us.
Thanks, new kid. Thanks, old friends.
Axum Jacks, baby. Axum Jacks for life. I just want to say that. Class of 1978. I'm so proud of you guys and how far y'all have come. And God, I can't wait to get back together with the gang. You know what I'm saying?
Justin came to SFA once
Listen,
and told everybody at
no.
the shack that he
Yes.
was a football recruit. And
I
knew everybody.
I had two of the greatest visits to Nacogdoches that someone that would like to forget them now in their adult life could ever have. And so I had two very phenomenal stories there that I'm not necessarily proud of, but it was very impressive. I had everybody convinced. I had a shirt of the college that I attended currently, which I went to UMHB. I know I'm, Texas A&M, I'm all over the place, but I actually went to UMHB, so that's why I'm in all that debt. So I better rep them, because I'm freaking paying them for the rest of my life. And I had a UMHB shirt on, and I was in the middle of, was it Bajitas? Is that how you say it? Bonitas?
No.
Bananas?
We were
Banana Hammock Club?
Yeah.
Bajitas.
Bajitas, Lumberjacks and Tin.
Modeling.
Yeah, so I was there, and I had everyone in the room convinced that I was going to transfer there and be the starting quarterback when I was a chubby guy with long hair that made no sense.
Correct.
And everybody believed me. I had the whole room convinced that we were about to win a national championship, even though y'all weren't even at the FBS level. So nobody had any idea how football worked. So
And then
cool.
trip number 2, we were at TJ Maples' house in tiger costume. So it was 2 really good trips.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. And so
Cool. So, all right, give me a break.
Good times, bad friends.